About 40 podcast. Welcome back. Got me and Glenn in the studio today.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Let's go. So today we're going to take a trip down memory lane, and we're going to talk about our first trip. Well, Glenn's first trip is what we're going to do. It was my second trip. You've all heard the story of my first trip a couple times on the podcast, so we're going to get into Glenn's first trip. So Glenn's going to talk more on this podcast than ever because I'm going to keep asking him questions.
Yeah. What was that? 2016, right?
Yeah. So walk us through like what made you decide to go, and then start going through the experience.
Yeah, I remember thinking you were pretty crazy for going, and the first trip, I'm like, damn, you're going all the way out there, right? For a good time. So I remember you came back and you had a lot, obviously good stuff to talk about. So I thought about it, but I remember thinking in my head, like, damn, that's such a far place to go, and that flight. And I was, I still am, obviously, like, hate flying, but
you've gotten more used to it. We do it so goddamn much.
Yeah.
But back then you hated it.
I just was like, I didn't fly too often anyway. So I think once we got, once I was thinking, I just wanted to go try something different and travel. I was on Maui, I believe, and I came across that video that what was it?
Black Eyed
Peas video of all the different islands, and like, it's more fun in the Philippines. And I remember thinking, like, yeah, if we go to Angeles and then we, go to different islands, it would probably be pretty awesome. But that first trip was pretty, I didn't know what to expect. You didn't really give us any heads up of what was going on. So I remember, I think once we landed, obviously Matt was with us. I didn't know anything about this bus, and the bus was a good experience. Basically it was a party bus that we were in for about 5 hours traveling from Manila to Angeles. And
that was back before there was the Skyway. Well, the bus can't go anyways, but yeah, it was like a 5 or 6 hour endeavor.
Yeah.
And I remember we stopped for Jollibee to get everyone on the bus fed.
Yeah, it was loaded with drinks, and it was just us and, a bunch of girls. And
back up a little bit though, like your idea to go to the islands was all you. Like, I just wanted to go back to Angeles. I didn't even think about islands or know about them. So that was like one part that you added, like, can we go to these other places when we go there? And then I talked to the guys that took me, Albert, and he's like, yeah, you can go wherever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
So that was like you bringing that into the table. And I got to think, if we didn't end up, we'll get into it throughout your story about going to Boracay that trip, but if we wouldn't have gone to Boracay that trip, I don't know if we would have rushed back like that. Obviously Angeles was fun, but Angeles is Angeles. The Boracay of that trip is what made me completely fall in love with going there. Anyways.
Yeah, the islands and like the island hopping, hotels, just that island, resort. It was something. We live in Hawaii, but we're not going out, to Waikiki or anything.
Yeah,
so it's like,
so full credit on that idea from you. But let's go back to the bus and the first night then.
Yeah. So the bus, how it is. It's once we, get started on partying, there's just like, we're not just chilling. It was like,
as soon as it hits your lips.
It was, somebody brought out tequila. I remember we were drinking Red Horse, and it was, that bus ride was definitely a long ride, but it felt pretty quick. And I remember thinking in my head, like, dude, like, I haven't had this much fun, since I was younger. Obviously, like,
since we were in college, really.
I think before I moved to Hawaii, we had, someone's birthday and they got a party bus, and, that's cool and all. But this was just like on a higher level, different level of, it was just like me, you, Matt, and a couple other guys, and, just a bus full of people. And it was, I don't know, it was one of those things where I was just like, wow, like this, like, I'm so glad I came, and
for sure.
And I remember thinking, once we got there, that was it. And we got to, I think we stayed at Scorebirds.
Yeah, we checked into Scorebirds.
And I was like done for the night. I'm like, oh man, I'll see you guys tomorrow. And you're like, no. And I think you gave me some 5-hour energy drinks. You're like,
we're going out.
Yeah. And it was the best decision ever, because basically once we checked in, I want to say, we all met down by the pool, and then like the big group started walking. And, when you're walking down those streets where you've never been before, I remember thinking like, and we were walking the back streets, right? But because Scorebirds is like down those dark streets, thinking like, where the hell are we? What's going on? And then it's like you turn down where like Kokomo's is, and you come down and you just see lights. And I remember being like, dude, all right, this is going to be fucking awesome.
I believe we went straight to Atlantis.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say for the first couple of trips, we never went anywhere else. But yeah, I mean, that first trip, I mean, it was, I don't know. Obviously, we get fired up talking about the Philippines and Angel City, and I mean, we're fucking doing podcasts about it, dude.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
if there's guys out there that, you know, have never been, it's just one of those experiences that, you know, you once you get there, and the party and all that stuff is, you know, it's always gonna be there, but it's just how you feel. And I felt fucking like I was like back to, you know, I was like in my 20s
totally.
again.
I remember the first trip that I went with the older guys by myself, like walking down those. We stayed at the Wild Orchid, or not the Orchid Inn, not the Wild Orchid, and so we came down by Tequila Reef and then hit that left at Kokomo's. And I remember just thinking, like, I felt like I was in the movie Blood Diamond when the rebels take over the city.
That's
Like, because I was so disoriented to where we were. And then you get on that main street and it's like, wow, there's a lot going on here. And then I remember walking to Atlantis, like it was literally the gates of heaven opening up.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, when you walk through those double doors, and I remember walking in, and like it's 3 levels, and I just remember looking up, and at that time, I mean, what was that, 2017, 2018 time? Like there was quite a bit of girls working there, and I just remember being like, wow, dude, like where are we? And then it's like we went straight to the front, sat down, and got like treated like VIP, and I remember thinking like, this is fucking awesome.
Amazing, right? I think we spent 4 nights in AC on that trip, and then
Yeah, it was a long time. Yeah, because then we on the back end of that trip, we went to Boracay, and I think we got basically only had 1 day to go out because of the storm, and then
well, it's fun to like reminisce and recollect, because I mean I think it was 2016, honestly.
Yeah.
So 9 years ago, basically. It'd be 9 years ago, like September is when we went. I don't remember exactly what we did each night, but we did do a lot of bar hopping. That first night we just went to Atlantis because we got there, you know, at midnight. We partied, then went to bed, and then I want to say the next day we did more of like a bar hopping thing, and we you know, I wanted to show you guys all the other places, and we started cruising around. Or no, the next day was the
Who Let the Dogs Out?
No,
party?
it was the pool party. Because we got there on a Friday night, and the next day was at the pool party. And I remember we were sitting at the pool party, and they had their bikini contest, and I remember you picked the girl that won.
Yeah, and I was like, you can do that? All right.
yeah. You're like, can I talk to her? And the girls went and got her, and then she came and joined our group.
And that's when I was like, this place is pretty cool.
I think that night we did some bar hopping, because the one memory I have, and you can tell your experience of it, Matt stayed in, I think, the second night. Or
No, it was the night we went.
So it must have been the third night. So we went to Who Let the Dogs Out. I remember that it was at Dollhouse that night. They used to have it on Sunday night. So it was basically the third night we were there, because we got there Friday. And then from there, it started so early, right? It was like 5 o'clock, and they had like, you know, hors d'oeuvres, and the drinks were crazy cheap. The few memories I have is, one, when we got our bill, we were shocked how little it was because the drinks were on sale. We didn't know that. And then all the girls that we were cruising with were the ones that won the contest, and then they all left with us. And the next memory I have of the night is we were at Club Asia when that was still open.
That's right.
And you were struggling.
Dude, I was struggling.
You thought you got roofed or something.
Yeah, dude, I was like almost, I could keep my head up, dude.
And then I handed you some no-dos.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then you had a second win.
I had the second win, and that was a good time. But I definitely was struggling, because I mean, I remember thinking, like, just before that trip, I never really partied as much as, I mean, when it comes to partying and, you know, socializing and having a good time, like, things haven't changed since I was in my 20s. It's like, I don't just have one or two. Like, you keep going throughout the night, right? And then you have a great time and just keep going and going. And when you put multiple days together, it's like, the recovery was really rough.
I mean, that was probably me and Glenn are in the same boat when it comes to partying. Like, we don't have an off switch, and that's essentially why I stopped partying as an adult outside of our trips. You know, during the week, our normal weeks, we don't drink or party. We just drink when we travel for the most part. I mean, now 100%. Like, I drink like 8 or 9 times a year, and it's always on our trips. But yeah, that night was the third night, so we were spent, but we started taking caffeine pills, and it turned out to be a fucking awesome night. I remember that.
Yeah, it was a good time, and we gave Matt so much shit for not going out.
He missed the best. I mean, Matt's going to come on the podcast next week, and we're going to give him shit. Like, there's 5 or 6 nights that have been great nights on our trips that he has stayed in.
Yeah.
because he goes way too hard. He day drinks, and that's one of them that stays in mind. And then recently we had the big party at Mega Dance, and he stayed in for that one.
That was last year.
So Matt's notorious for not coming out when we have a blast.
Yeah, so that first trip, I mean, it was definitely, for me, it was life-changing because I was on that path to, like, try to get back there. I remember I was working in Maui, so I, like, whatever I needed to do to save up money, work a bunch of overtime, I just remember thinking, like, when's the next trip?
So the following night is when we ended up heading out to Boracay, and we've told the story again or before how we went down to the Walkabout Hotel and used their travel desk to book that part of the trip, and we didn't know what we were doing. So we didn't leave Angeles till, if you remember, it was like 7 or 8 o'clock at night. So we had all day there Monday, and then this was our travel, we went from Clark to Cebu, had to stay the night in Cebu, and then Boracay the next day.
I caught the bug.
You got sick on that flight.
Dude, that was it. I remember. I don't know what I obviously drank the water or something. I remember I had never had that feeling. I remember thinking, like, what the fuck, dude? I was getting sick at the airport.
Yeah, you started getting chills and stuff.
Yeah,
I thought you were going to die.
Yeah, and, like, Albert gave me a Z-Pack.
And that cleaned you up.
Cleaned me up, dude. Like, within, like, 24 hours, I was back.
The worst part of that entire trip was we didn't have a hotel booked in Cebu for that night. And Albert and the guys we were with, there's a big casino right by the airport, and they just figured we would go there because it's like a casino hotel right walking distance from the airport. And we walked all the way down there, and they had no rooms available.
I think that was also that whole trip was like we just decided, like, we're never relying on other people to book our shit.
Exactly, because then we were scrambling, to find somewhere to stay because we had to stay overnight. Our flight wasn't until the morning, and I'll never forget how helpful the staff was at that hotel casino trying to help us find a room. Where I just remember thinking, if this was in the U.S., they would just basically tell us to get fucked.
Yeah.
And the girl and the guy behind the counter were like calling multiple hotels trying to find us. Yeah, it was late at night, and they found us a hotel in Cebu. I think it was called the Abracadabra. And it was a shit dump, but I mean, it was better than nothing. So I remember we went there, and you went to the room because you were sick.
Yeah, I was out.
Me and Matt and some of the girls walked to a McDonald's, and I remember thinking I was like in freaking Iraq, dude. Like, I didn't have a lot of experience outside of my first trip and walking through this major city. Like, I was the only time I ever felt uneasy there. But looking back on it, it was just my own bias. Like, there's nothing unsafe about the neighborhood we were in. And we walked down, got some McDonald's, came back to the hotel, passed out, and then the next day we went to Boracay.
That's right. Yeah, and then I think it started raining right away once we got there. Didn't it?
Yeah. When we got to Boracay, when we got and checked in, they didn't have our rooms ready. We stayed at the Red Coconut, and we sat there for a couple hours waiting for rooms, and it was pouring rain.
That's right. And we basically didn't do anything. We just hung out at the hotel, and and then we didn't go out on the boats until the second to last day.
The third day, and we were supposed to leave. Like, we were only going to be in Boracay for like 2 nights, basically, in 2 days, if I remember right. And our flight got canceled because of the storm, and so we ended up staying another night. I had that feeling that you're talking about earlier. I believe it was the second night, and we were all hanging out in one of the hotel rooms, and we ordered like a bunch of pizza, and we got like a bottle of tequila, and it was me, you, and Matt, and the girls, and like that's when it kind of dawned on me. Like, I felt like I was back when we were in college or high school. Like, that's when I recaptured that feeling of like, wow, like, life can be fun. It's just, you just got to get outside your comfort zone, go do cool shit. And like, I remember just thinking like, this is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to even think that we thought that was awesome after that travel. I mean, I was fucked up with being sick. Like, most people would just fold and be like, this is the worst trip ever, right?
Do you remember that night that it was pouring rain, we were just playing cards with the girls in the room,
I definitely remember.
Drinking tequila and eating pizza.
Yeah, we were just in the room. It was good times, man. Definitely fun.
And then finally the weather broke. The day we were supposed to leave, the weather got good, and that's when we went out on the boats and did island hopping and met Fred, Ben, and James.
That's right. Yeah, where did they take us? On the other side of the island, right? It was like where we had lunch, and that was like, I want to say I remember it being like one of the best lunches we ever had there. And
yeah, we ended up eating lunch at that Iligan beach on the backside, but we went to like, I think they call it Magic Island, where there was like a little cliff jumping thing. They took us to like 2 stops and then to lunch at Iligan Beach, and it was just the most beautiful day. Like, and I'd never been on a boat in that environment like that, where we were drinking and partying, and it was fucking awesome.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a good trip. I mean, for all the other stuff that went down, but I mean, I didn't know better. I just remember thinking like, oh, okay, I had a good time. I want to do it again, you know?
No, at that point we'd caught the fever, like.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, after that, so we finally flew back, and we flew from Boracay to Manila, and then we went to the Burgos Street and stayed at the, what the fuck is that hotel called? I just hit a blank. The Palace.
The Palace, yeah.
The Palace on Burgos Street. And by that time, like, we weren't really big into going out. We were so spent from partying so hard, but we spent the night on Burgos Street at the Makati Palace.
Makati Palace.
And then the next morning we caught flights back to Hawaii.
Yeah, that trip, I mean, it was definitely all new. And I remember thinking, you know, when I mean, the whole experience from like AC to Boracay and all that, I just remember thinking like, I had never done anything like that, you know, up until that point. So I remember being, as soon as we got back, like I want to do it again, but I want to go, you know, and do it like on our own terms type deal. And I think that's when we started to like look at our own like, travels. And,
No, yeah, you lived on Maui, and I actually called you because I remember this conversation extremely well. I called you like a couple days after we got back, and I told you like, I'm gonna go back.
yeah.
And you're like, really? And I was thinking December at that point, and this was early October, and I was like, maybe December, right after I got ship loading, or maybe January, but I'm gonna go back. And your response was like, well, I'm not gonna let you go alone.
Yeah. That was
And
awesome.
we ended up booking it for right after New Year's, and we went back in January, and that was the second trip, which was also awesome because that time we planned it ourselves.
Yeah. No, it was good. I mean, the fact that we were able to use like the internet, and obviously YouTube, and I mean, think about all the traveling that we've done. And, like, we basically find these guys that, you know, they travel like through a boat or whatever, like the cheapest way to get somewhere, and then we find like the closest airport and the nicest resort. So that's kind of how we've been doing it.
Yeah, that's how we started researching. We found, well, we saw the Heenan when we were there on that first trip, so we knew we kind of wanted to stay there. We watched some videos, but we also made the decision that we were going to, you know, stay in AC a little bit shorter time and spend more time in Boracay, hoping for better weather, because we were only there like 3 days, and we really wanted to go back, you know.
Yeah, no, it was. I think, I mean, over the years we've had some good weather, where like the whole time it was nice, you know.
Well, I know the plan for the podcast was to talk about the first trip, but let's get into that second trip, because now I'm starting to think about that one. So I remember we didn't get the bus because we did this whole plan ourselves. Albert and those guys came and did their own thing, but they didn't get a bus either. And I remember the girls met us, and we got a small van.
Oh, that's right.
And we took the van, and that was before the Sky was open. It was still a crazy long trip, and I remember we got just fucking wasted in that van. And
Yeah.
remember we stopped to use the bathroom, and there was guys playing basketball. There was
Like,
a basketball court, and they were like wearing slippers.
It was like part of
and
the
shit.
gas station or something. I think I got video of that somewhere. But they were like, yeah, some of them were playing with no shoes on, and I remember, yeah, that was a rough one because I mean to start your trip off like that, and then we went out that night.
Yeah, we went out that night, and then went out Saturday night, and then I remember this. We changed it up, so like we were going to be in Angeles for 3 nights. And after 2 nights, this next Sunday morning, we started talking, and we're just like, fuck, let's go to, because we were going to fly out of Manila because we booked our own flights, and there wasn't much out of Clark at that time. So we had to get back to Manila Monday for a flight to Boracay. So we changed the plans, and we got a van Sunday afternoon, and we went and stayed at the Microtel, or not the Microtel, another little tiny hotel by the airport. But we grabbed our own van, me, you, and Matt, and the girls went up to Manila. And we checked into that hotel, and that's when we met that driver, Norman, and we went to the Mall of Asia for the first time. We'd never been there.
Yeah.
And we went and had dinner there at Adriatico's. Glenn's the last name. We found Adriatico's Cafe, had dinner there, and then we walked around that mall, and that was like mind-blowing. And
Yeah, because that was the biggest mall I ever seen.
yeah, and then we got to see Manila a little bit, and we're like, all right, we got to come back and, you know, stay here and check this out again. So that was a good decision that we cashed in the last night and went up there and kind of relaxed, ate, and then went to Boracay the next morning. And we were in Boracay for 5 days that time before we came back to Manila to go home.
Yeah, I think that's the trip I remember. Like the weather was like perfect.
Beautiful.
Like,
it was beautiful.
And like, I mean, at that point, I remember thinking like, this is the best time of year to go. Like the weather's great. And over the years, obviously that thing has changed. Like you just never know.
And I remember it was the first morning we went out on the boat, which was the Tuesday after we got there. And you were already filming stuff back then, but obviously we didn't have any thoughts of a YouTube channel or anything like that. And you got the famous clip of Matt sitting on the boat.
Ah, that's right.
And
yeah.
you're like, Matt, what's going on? He's like, having the best time of my life.
I gotta find that thing.
That's
Put
a
Monster, what are you doing?
Have the best time of my life.
classic clip. Yeah, we got to put that out on YouTube.
Oh, man. Yeah, he was like having the best time.
Yeah, we were just drinking beer, snorkeling our first morning out, and just loving the paradise of the island and just feeling so blessed to be there. And that trip too, we did like all the different activities they have, like helmet diving, like parasailing,
Yeah, like I think we did the zip line. They don't
Zip
even have
line.
that anymore, which is crazy. to think we
ATVs,
did zip
like-
line over there.
did all that stuff. And that's back when the ATV had the like private beach and all that stuff. It's
right.
changed because I just did the ATVs with my niece and nephew, and it's nowhere near as cool as it once was. They changed because they developed that whole area.
Yeah,
It's that new
New Coast or
New
something.
Coast,
that's
yeah.
right. Yeah, no, it's good to think about those trips. I mean, even just the other day when Lee, a coworker of ours, was just asking, "Damn, dude, how many times have you guys gone?" Like, we're at a point where I don't even remember. No, how many
Yeah, I have
times.
no idea. I mean, I guess we could probably go back and just do the math. 9 years times 4 times a year. But I think there was a couple years we went
And then
5.
you got COVID in there. We didn't go. For
Yeah, and
two,
then there was the 2 years, so subtract that out. So
But, yeah, no, it's definitely a blessing, man,
at least 30 times.
to at least experience this. You know, not a lot of people get to experience it once, so we're fortunate, and that's why I just like you gotta appreciate every trip, man, and I never take it for granted.
No, you can't. Like the whole COVID thing opened our eyes up to taking it for granted, you know?
Yeah,
I mean, we were scheduled to go 2 weeks after COVID started for like when everything got shut down. Like we were a week away from our goddamn trip.
yeah, no, that was rough. And it's crazy too, because I mean, not a lot of people. I mean, I don't know what whoever's listening to this, but there's a lot of stuff to do in the Philippines. You don't just there's the city. Obviously, we've been fortunate to go to like BGC and see the nice part of Manila, and if you want to go to different areas, I mean, we've been up to like La Union and different islands. So I don't know. I think that's what gets me is more of a just I want to see more of that.
The adventure,
yeah.
right? And like I said at the beginning, that's credited to you because like I never thought about going anywhere else. I'd just been to Angeles, and then I wanted to take you guys there. And then you're the one's like, well, can we go to another island while we're there? And it's like, well, what? Why not? You know?
No, I mean, and even just filming back then, I remember thinking like, seeing some of the cool spots and like obviously like the islands. I remember I had like a GoPro or something. I remember I got to show people this place. So.
Like I was so blind. I didn't even know that there was places like that until you sent me that Black Eyed Peas video.
Yeah.
Like I had no idea because I'd only been to Manila and Angeles, and it was just one time. And like I've said on the podcast before, like I knew nothing about the Philippines, like at all.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know much about the different islands like that, but obviously I was a kid when I went there, and I mean, the province and where my family's from is it's obviously not. There's nothing like there's no tourist area, but I remember like having a good time when I went, even though I was a kid, but.
Well, I even remember the day you called me because we were in love with Boracay for all the right reasons. It's a great place, and we've been there numerous times. But I remember the day you called me. You're like, "Dude, you got to look at this place on YouTube called El Nido."
Yeah.
And that obviously came across your radar, and like I knew nothing, and started looking at it. It's like, holy shit, we got to go here too. And I think that's the first place we went outside of Boracay, and then that really opened our eyes to traveling to different spots.
I mean, no, it's definitely changed. I mean, a lot of those places are, even just going back to like El Nido this last year. I mean, just the different type of people that are traveling there. Obviously, if they El Nido's become one of the most traveled places in the Philippines. But it's just there's like so many islands there that are like low key, that are off the grid, but fucking awesome. So.
And for us, like the coolest part about it, like people always say, "Oh, you live in Hawaii, that's so awesome." Like, where do you go on vacation if you live in a vacation spot? And my quick answer is the fucking Philippines. And the Philippines to me is such a better spot if you can afford to get there, because once you're there, it's so much cheaper than Hawaii. Hawaii is great and beautiful and all, but in the Philippines, like Boracay, you can stay literally on the beach. Like, there's not a lot of oceanfront hotels in Hawaii. I mean, you have a few in Maui and you got some in Waikiki, but when I mean oceanfront, I mean like you walk out of the hotel and you're in the sand, and that's like all over Boracay. And depending on what your budget is, I mean, you can spend $200 a night at a place like the Heenan and have 5 stars,
Yeah.
beautiful, and breakfast included, beautiful pools right on the beach for $200 a night. I mean, the places in Hawaii that are like that are not right on the beach but close enough are,
Like
you know,
my neighbors.
minimum 600. Yeah.
Yeah, like in the back streets of Waikiki, you know, you're paying, you know, $400 a night.
So once we realized how cheap you can do it, like, it's like sky's the limit, you know.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've been blessed, man. I still like can't believe we've been doing it for so long, but I still get excited. So
Yeah, I mean, we're 5 days away from the next trip. We got to count them back and figure out what they are. Like, is it the 33rd trip? Is it the 34th trip? I don't know. We should probably figure.
I mean,
that
even
out.
when I like edit these videos, these party videos of like us in AC, or it's like they all kind of blend in, and I'm like, oh, that was, I just have them all labeled on like folders of like, you know, March 2024, like, but I mean, I have a bunch of them, and you're just like, fuck, dude, we have a ton of there's just, I mean, that's just within the last year. So
Well, you know, you're blessed, and you've gone there so many times that you can't even remember specific trips because we've gone so much. I mean, that's why we're fortunate, you know.
Yeah.
And that's one good thing about the Philippines is because it's affordable and we can do it. You know, like I would imagine a lot of people take their families on vacation once a year, and that's all they can afford. But if you don't have a huge family and you want to, you know, experience something different, like the Philippines, but that passion we have is the reason why we started the channel, right? And why we want to like share it. And,
yeah, we're talking about it right now. So
and the podcast as well. And like you said, like, and we always tell people to come with us that, you know, are in relationships or married or even their families, because, you know, there's so much to do. Like you don't have to go out on Walking Street, you know, like you can go to Boracay, you can go to El Nido, you can stay at the Conrad by the Mall of Asia. I mean, essentially that's why I brought my niece and nephew and sister's family, is they had a blast and they had no idea about any of
I mean,
this.
they even they like the whole, you know, more than Boracay, because it was like low key and less people. But I mean, that's it. It's like if you want the busy stuff, tourist stuff, you know, areas, you could go, and then you go to a place like Panglao, and it's like, you know, same, basically right on the beach. The hotels are just as nice, but less people. So
And at the end of the day, that's what drives us to keep doing this, the podcast and the YouTube, is to show other people and show them the joy and the satisfaction that we've got from doing this. And if we can get one other person to watch this stuff and be like, I'm going to go try it out, and then have the positive effect it had on our lives on theirs, it's all worth it. I mean,
no, definitely.
it's in the mission statement we have, and that's like where we're honestly trying to come from, is to just share those experiences. And obviously we get to document all of our stuff for ourselves, but
I mean, that's basically what started it. I mean, we never thought anyone would watch our shit. It was just like, at least we have this, you know, for us. And so, but no, it's definitely good to get that information out, because, you know, some people they just don't, you know, either research it enough, or they, you know, they hear one bad thing.
Just don't know, right?
Yeah, if they hear one bad thing about this place, it's like, I'm not going there.
I mean, we're the perfect example. We didn't know. We had no idea.
No idea.
You know?
I mean, just talking about this first trip, I mean, like with all the shit that now that I just started to remember, it's like, I got sick, you know, this happened, you know, we basically got stuck on this island. Like, you would think it would be a bad trip, you know, most people would be like, that's fucked up, but for us, it was like, that's like a positive memory, and we wanted to go back to it, you know, so.
Well, that goes big into mindset, right? I mean, we did take some lickings on that first trip, but
Like the first couple of trips, because I want to say, like, for some reason, like, I used to catch the bug a bunch, like, because I was fucking reckless. I would drink, you know, probably water I shouldn't have, or whatever, eat whatever the fuck I wanted. But, yeah, I mean, those are the type of experiences where people will, you know, make or break their vacation, and they, you know, I'm not going back, or I'm not going to do that again, you know. So.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. You got to look at the positives, and it definitely was so positive for us. Oh, it just gave us like a newfound something to look forward to, like a newfound light in our life. And that's why I'm excited for next week when Matt flies in for our trip. We're going to podcast with him and hear his personal experience, because he obviously was on those 2 trips we just talked about, so we can pick his brain, let him tell his story. And then eventually our coworker that just came with us, Joey, I'd like to get him on. And I mean, that guy, every time I see him at work, he's just like a happier, different person. He said he's lost 30 pounds. Like he's all fired up to go back.
Yeah, he wants to go back so bad. And it's basically like the positive mindset like we had, you know, so that's great that he's had the same experience.
And it's almost like I feel obligated to share this with people so other people can have that opportunity to have the life-changing experience that we've had.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I love doing this and love doing the podcast is even if we just have a couple hundred views, if we can get through to one person and get them to drop everything and go on a trip, like, and it can change their life like it changed for us. It's like, that's what I want to share with people.
No, definitely.
Because I mean, I know we've talked about it before. It's like, where would we be right now if we never went on those trips? Like, where would my life be? I mean, obviously, who cares? But it's fun to kind of think about. Like, I don't know where the hell I would be in life. Like,
yeah, no, it's definitely one of those thoughts that, I mean, I don't ever really think about. But yeah, I mean, where was I? I was just working a bunch. You know, I thought the most important thing was like own property and own a house or whatever. And that's what my goal was. And it's like, dude, to be honest, it's like that shit doesn't matter to me anymore.
well, yeah, because we found something to, like, the light in our life, and we found something to work towards, and it's these trips, and it can be anything for anyone. They don't, have to go on a trip to the Philippines to change their life, but if you can find something in your life that motivates you to be alive, I guess it's the best way to describe it. Like, that's what we want to find for people, because, I mean, I wouldn't say we were miserable, but we just lived a very structured work life, and we didn't really ever have fun. And that's why I think about, if we hadn't gone on these trips, where would I be? Like, would I be burned out with my job? Would I be unhappy? Would I be in a bad relationship? Like, I just don't know. And I think about it because I feel how blessed I am to be where I'm at. And if those trips hadn't have happened, I mean, it changed my whole mindset into, like, trying to be more successful, to work harder, to better my health, better my fitness so I can live longer and keep doing it. Like, it changed everything I do because I want to keep doing this.
Yeah, no, I mean, especially with health, because I think we were probably in the same boat. I was overweight, I wasn't, like, working out as much as I probably should, eating whatever the hell I wanted. And I mean, just like how Joey is, like, as soon as we went on that first trip, and I remember thinking, like, fuck, I got to get, better shape, and I want to lose some weight, and just kind of everything has gone that direction. So.
No, definitely. I mean, it completely changed everything for me. So yeah, next week Monster flies in on Wednesday, and we'll get a podcast together with him and then post it when we're on our next trip. And I'm excited for that. I can't wait to press him on all his experiences.
Yeah, the guy. Who knows what that guy's gonna talk about? It's the best part.
Well, because every trip's a little different for everybody, right? So it's going to be interesting to hear his perspective and where his mind is. And he hasn't been fortunate of us as we have to go as much as we've gone, but unfortunately for him, it's his own decisions that has caused his harder ships to come. But we'll get into that in the podcast. Well, yeah, that's all I got for today. But I mean, just talking about, like you said, fired me up just for this trip in 5 days, and thinking about those other two kind of makes me want to go back and look at a calendar and figure out what trips are what, and kind of, write down what we did so we can talk about it and we can remember it.
No, I'm glad we did. We talked about it because, I mean, like I was telling you earlier, it's like, obviously this is, just you and I talking, but it's like people, I don't know if anybody cares about what the fuck we've been up to, but it's good to always bring up these, experiences just in case, like somebody hears us and they're like, fuck, I want to do that, or, and it doesn't necessarily mean, you have to go to AC or Burgo Street and Makati, but just in general, like, if you want to travel or go and do something, especially in the Philippines, like, we have a ton of, we've been doing it for 9 years.
Well, that's why the podcast is cool, because we get to just sit here and talk about it. And that's why I always ask people to comment if they want to be on the podcast to share your travel experience or your process of moving to Southeast Asia. And those are kind of the people we've targeted to do interviews with. And we've done some that we've shown. We've got some coming up with some guys in Thailand, 3 guys that obviously left their countries to live there. And so we're open to anybody if we can schedule it and meet up with you. No matter if you're vlogging or not, if you've moved over there or if you just travel over there or any type of thing. I mean, even if you've had an experience in life that changed your mindset and put you on a more positive path, like, I want to hear about it. Like, it's fun to talk about and hear those types of experiences for people.
Definitely, man.
All right, man. Well, we'll wrap this one up, and the next time we go on the podcast room, it will be with Matt next week, Wednesday, and that one will probably come out a week from this coming Friday, so tune in for that, and you'll see us in the Philippines and Thailand pretty soon.
All right.